Time with the Minerals Commission. We are going to continue our discussion on the general administration of the minerals and mining. So that's the Health, Safety and Technical Regulation 2012 LI 2182. In last week's edition, we looked at occupational health and safety as enshrined in the minerals and mining regulation, and we discussed the rationale for the regulation, the main causes of mine accidents, sanctions for non-compliance, and also measures put in place to reduce fatalities at mining sites. And once again, we are joined by Mr. John Amoanyi. He is the Deputy Chief Inspector of Mines of the Minerals Commission, to look at other aspects of the LI 2182. Good morning, Mr. Amoanyi. Welcome once again.
Good morning.
Last week we had the conversation, we spoke about what the regulations were and the sanctions for non-compliance, like we've said before. Today we are looking at the functions of the Inspectorate Division and what exactly they are put in place to ensure. So what are some of the functions that they have? What do they have to oversee?
Okay, we first of all need to look at the law. Even the law that gives out the functions. So if you look at the Minerals and the Mining Act 2006 at 703, 102 section spells out the functions of the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission. So now we come to the functions of the Inspectorate Division. If you look at the Minerals and Mining Health, Safety and Technical Regulation 2012, Regulation 1, it states that Inspectorate Division shall exercise the powers and perform the functions specified under this regulation. So under this regulation means the LI 2182. And then with the supervision of the Minerals Commission shall ensure proper and effective implementation of the provisions of these regulations. So we are talking about the proper and effective implementation of these provisions, of the provisions of these regulations. So in the nutshell, we need to properly ensure that these regulations are implemented. And then this is based on the supervision of the Minerals Commission. We will just start with the enforcement, because we are to enforce compliance of these regulations. That is the LI 2182 in the mining industry. We are also talking about the implementation. So this one also brought about the education. We need to educate the public, the citizenry, the mining industry on this particular regulations.
And that's done by the Inspectorate Division?
Yes, we do the sensitization workshops and then explain how these regulations works and then so on and so forth. So if you don't understand anything on the regulation, we just take our time and take people through the regulations. We also do investigation. We do investigation the sources and the causes of accidents in the mining industry to come out with the recommendations and the measures to prevent recurrence on such and then similar accidents in future. What we also do is that we also monitor the mines. We monitor the mines, the treatment practices, all to ensure that the wasteful mining and then wasteful treatment practices are not used in the mining industry. And then for so doing this, you are ensuring the judicious exploitation of country's mineral resources, which is one of the responsibilities of the Minerals Commission.
Wasteful practices, when you say that, what exactly do you mean?
You see, you look at the mining methods, and then some of the mines only do high grading. If I say they do high grading, they move in to just mine the rich ore, instead of just doing the waste, and then just come to the ore. They will just do. So the moment you start doing this thing, you will just create a hang-up, and then this can just bring about a lot of accidents. And then also if you do high grading, because normally you need to blend. You mine the low grade, you mine the high grades, and then you do the blending. But if you do the high grade alone, the low grade no one will just even prefer to mine the low grade alone. So taking the high and then just leaving the low, it also brings an issue. One other thing is the illegal mining activities. You see, they are rush in to do the mining. So they are even, whilst they are doing, they think people are chasing them. So they don't take their time to do proper mining. They are not using the mining methods. They are just moving the materials and so on and so forth. And then this is a purely wasteful mining. And then even treatment, the recovery, they are getting even about 20% and so on and so forth. So all these things, that is what we need to just look for the legal mining companies, because of our regulation aspect, and then because of the law, the LI 2182, we are able to regulate them. So we overcome the issue of the wasteful mining. But the illegal mining activities is the issue, which is now a challenge to the commission. They are just finding a way to just solve that issue. We also direct in that manner in which explosives are transported, stored, and also used in the mining industry. So you see, the explosive can cause accidental detonation whilst on the road. So we just give the regulation spelled out how it should be transported. Even the speed, give the speed, the type of vehicle. The vehicle needs to be given a permit, and then so before a vehicle can just move the explosive on our roads. So all these things are monitored by the Minerals Commission, that's the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission. We also look at ensure that the competent people are used in the mining industry. So for that matter, we normally
Okay, so we are spending some time with the Minerals Commission as we do every Wednesday morning, and today we are looking further at the regulation LI 2182. Deputy Chief Inspector of Mines, Mr. John Amoanyi, is here with me, and he's explaining the functions of the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission. So if you've just joined us, that's what we are looking at. You can join the conversation at WhatsApp number 055-556134. Follow us on our social media handles. We're on Facebook, we are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, and also streaming live on YouTube. So send your questions and comments to us, and remember to use the hashtag GTV Breakfast. We are serving you sizzling helpings of breakfast a la carte. And let's continue the conversation. Yes. So we are talking about, we've spoken about how you ensure that explosives are transported safely and also used safely at the mines. And you are going to make a point about another function of the division.
The certification of the competent people. Because we also need to ensure that those people working in the mining industry are competent. And then we use a means of examination. So we examine them. And then basically we wanted to know their knowledge in this particular regulation. And then also how they will also observe these regulations in the mining industry. And also the best practice, the minimum safety standards, and then also the risk assessment. So we just examine them based on this thing so that they will just go to the mines and ensure that things done in the mines are conform to these particular regulations.
So you work under the Inspectorate Division then,
yes,
as Deputy Chief Inspector of Mines.
Yes.
What powers do you have as an inspector when you go to a mine to see to all these functions that you've tabled before us this morning?
So as an inspector may enter into a mine at any reasonable time, being a day or in a night. Enter a mine, inquire, examine, inspect a mine in a manner that will not, or that does not unnecessarily impede or obstruct the workings of the mine. So you can just enter those mines. The inspector also can may examine, and then inquire into the state and condition of a mine or part of the mine, and of matters and things that pertain to the mine, in so far as they relate to the safety or health of the workforce of the mine. workforce employed in the mine, and also matters that relate to this regulation, in order to minimize any effect on this thing as far as the environmental is concerned.
So when you go to a mine and you find that there have been wrong things being done, or there are infractions where the law is concerned, what options are available to you?
If infractions, we look at the particular regulation that has caused that infraction, and then we just look at the sanctions at that particular regulation. So if you go contrary to the regulation, we fine, or you put imposition in the form of fines to the mine.
So give us an example of what those could be.
If you look at it seems last week I even quoted one of the regulations for an inspector giving an instruction that maybe he has seen some unsafe condition. He has seen some unsafe condition, or he has seen some unsafe act going on. So he has just instructed the manager that this is unsafe act, so they should stop. You can just cause cessation of the mine. But if you refuse to stop, then you can just be sanctioned by disobeying a lawful order by the inspector. And then based on this, he can sanction you and pay a CD equivalent of $10,000 US.
And if all that power rests with the inspector, I'm sure that the companies are not always happy with some of the sanctions that are slapped on them. Do they have the opportunity to ask for a re-look at the sanction, or for the matter to be re-investigated?
You see, we work in such a way that we give advice to the mining companies. We give technical advice, and then we also advise them in so many areas. But if you look at the regulation, they also have a way of appealing. So if you look at the regulation 4, the regulation 4 of LI 2182 give the opportunity for the operator to appeal on such decisions put on them or order. So for instance, if the imposition was given to you in the form of sanction that you are supposed to pay this or this, and then you need to just also examine those things and then look at what you have done. If you think what you have done doesn't deserve that sanctions, within 14 days after giving the decision, you need to appeal to the Chief Inspector of Mines. And what is if you appeal to the Chief Inspector of Mines, either you will rescind the decision, or affirm the decision, or validate the decision. Other option is that you can also make new decision. And we also have the third option. You also assembled a panel of 3 general managers of the mining companies, appropriate mining companies, the 3 general managers of the mining companies to sit on that particular issue. And then what they will come out with is the final. But there is still, as you see, we are talking, it's a regulation. So there is another opportunity. Even if they come out of this, and then you still think you have a good case, you can just appeal to the Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission. In the form of review. So you review to the Chief Executive of the Minerals Commission. So that is the last option for this case.
So if all these things happen and the law is working and we are abiding by all the rules, why do we still have cases of, for example, unsustainable mining?
If you say unsustainable mining, unsustainable, like building a house with weak foundation. If you are talking about the unsustainable mining, that means they did not do more into the exploration. Because you need to do good exploration to be sure what you have gotten is economical. And then you also target for about 10 years or so. So like if you just have some, you've gone through your exploration, you've gotten some few ore bodies, which you think that ore body can just sustain you for about 10 years without doing more investigation into. So people will just jump in, they will start mining, and then eventually at a point, all this, and then gold diminishes or depletes. So at a point, one thing you can also do to sustain is, whilst mining, you still need to continue to do the exploration. so that you still. So what we advise the mining companies, once you are mining, you still continue to do your exploration to get some of the food, or that is what I would just put it, to get some of the ore, so that the mining becomes sustainable. So that is that. So like a building, if your foundations are weak, you will started just building up, and then eventually the whole thing will collapse. So if you want to, the good mining, those people, the mining is purely strategic. It's not everyone. If you look at the Ghana, everybody wants to just venture into mining. It's not so.
Really?
It's purely strategic. Yes, those people, they are prepared, spend money to do exploration.
Okay, let's talk about exploration for a minute. So a company comes to you to say, okay, we've done some studies and we found that we can mine some minerals here. Yes. And then they take steps, I presume, from a layman's perspective, to acquire the concession, yes, to pay for it, and then they get the systems in place to start working, right? Yes. So what do they need to do to ensure from the beginning point that it will be sustainable, because they haven't even started prospecting to begin with? So how do they know that it's a viable venture?
Unless we see that we have a companies, they do the prospecting and then they sell to other companies. That one is also there. And then you see, if you look at the mining cycle, from the exploration, you move into the development, and then you get into the production, and then the processing, and then going to the closure of the mine. And then so this one, if the people, you have to come out of your feasibility studies. So based on your feasibility study, you will know that you actually have done the good thing, and then you have a target of about 10 years to work. See?
All right. And we're also talking about environmental pollution. The Inspectorate Division is also meant to ensure that the companies also abide by the environmental provisions in the laws and the regulations laid down. So what happens to cases where there are infractions? Because even with legal mining, we know that reclamation efforts are a bit problematic now, and it's further compounded by illegal mining activities.
The pollution, one thing I would say is that for the legal mining, like the post-reclamation bond, so the legal mining, we don't have much issue with it. And then the inspectors, because they also go to the mine to monitor all those things, it's very difficult to see a particular mine having this pollution and so on and so forth. All this pollution and so on and so forth is from the illegal mining activities. And then you will see, I cannot regulate illegality. The police cannot regulate armed robbers. We consider them as an armed robbers. So we need to find a way to eliminate these people, because they are causing a lot. You see, if we talk about the pollution, the water pollution, the soil pollution, we have a lot of pollution, the air pollution and so on and so forth. Like the noise and then so on and so forth. We try to just minimize this thing. And
that's when it comes to the effects of mining activities on host communities, and that's one of the challenges with dust and noise and whatnot.
That is the quarry aspect. Yes, okay. That's the quarry aspect. We are just doing it, trying to just do our best to minimize those things. Like you see, normally the people will just start, the operator will start the quarry at a very remote area, and then as the towns develop, they will just encroach these quarries. And then eventually they immobilize the quarry. That's another thing we need to just talk about this. We need to just talk, because you see, as a assembly or the district assembly and so on, we need to just demarcate where we can build up to. And then these are the natural resources we need to protect. The quarries now, most of the quarries are now going down because of encroachment. And then we see, we are talking about a human being. If they build closer, it's very difficult for the operator to do the blasting, to do the noise. And initial, when it's coming, they will just, we will accommodate, we will just do this. But more, it will just get to the time, because a quarry is only a blasting that we can just use to break this material. And then we see we have exploration.
What's been done to ensure that these sites are protected? Is it that the communities move closer to the quarry sites, or the fact that the sites are sited too close to residential quarters?
The initial, as I was saying, I said normally these quarries started a far remote area, because we will go and do the inspection. If I will go and do the prospecting, we do the pre-permitting or pre-licensing inspection. You will go and do the pre, and then you will state the distance from the rock to the nearest community. At times about 1 kilometer. We have an exclusion zone of 500 meters. And then within about 2-3 years, people boarding closer. So this is what we need to ensure, that people don't board closer to these quarries. Because whatever if you build closer, now we have a technology. I went to Sweden. The technology, within the 200 meters, people can blast, and there will not be anything will not happen.
But we are not at that point.
But we are just moving on slowly. But because of the cost, the electronic blasting, control blasting, we have a lot we have to just, because if you don't move in those direction, eventually we will.
So what level of engagements have you done to make sure that we catch up with technologies as they exist elsewhere? Oh,
we like for the community aspect, we are just doing, for we ourselves too, we are also planning how we just also assemble the mine. Normally we just call them for sensitization workshop. We go to the mine to educate them that they need to improve on their practices, because we are talking about the best practice. If you continue to use the non-electric blasting, it will come to a point you cannot blast again, because people are also boarding. They don't have any place to board. They need to just come closer. So if we can just improve our practices, like using electronic blasting, using a control blasting, so that the impact will not affect the community.
Okay, final comments, Mr. Amoanyi.
So what I would see is that, especially the quarry industry, I want to just talk about the quarry industry. As
30 seconds.
We need to be very careful. If we don't take care, we will lose most of our natural resources. So and then it will affect our building construction, it will affect our road and so forth. So if there will be a way, I think we have the planners in various district assemblies. They need to ensure that we need to demarcate no zone, no area, so that we allow these operators to just mine and get those materials for our road construction, because we are yet to, it will come to a point we will not even get a sand, and then we will use a quarry dust to do this plasting and so on and so forth. But if we allow these natural resources to just go, we are dead.
Right. Thank you so much for today's conversation. Mr. John Amoanyi is a Deputy Chief Inspector of Mines of the Minerals Commission. We've been looking further into LI 2182 and what it means for minerals and mining regulation in the country. That's the law that looks after the health, safety and technical aspects of mining in Ghana. And as we do every Wednesday, the Minerals Commission has educated us on what that entails. And